Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and dig out the real nuggets of knowledge. Today, we're plunging into the sociology of religion, which honestly is a pretty fascinating and maybe surprising world, our goal. To figure out why religion, which some people thought was kind of fading out, seems to be making a comeback and, well, still deeply affects almost everything in society. So yeah, diving into this, what immediately strikes you from the sources is how much sociology itself has sort of shifted its view on religion. For decades, you had many sociologists really leaning into these secularization theories.
Yeah.
Basically, they expected religion to just, well, shrink, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that was the dominant idea for a long time. But contrary to those predictions, what we've actually seen, especially since the late 70s, is real growth in the sociology of religion, both organizationally and intellectually. You've got scholars from totally different fields now looking into it, and even, big names who push secularization theory, like Peter Berger. They've publicly said, okay, maybe we got that wrong. Religion isn't just inevitably declining.
Wow, okay, that's a major reversal. So what actually prompted this rethink? What changed?
Well, a few big things, really. Primarily, I'd say, was the very visible, undeniable rise of fundamentalist religion, not just in the U.S., but globally. And then you had public debates heating up around cults and new religious movements. That got attention. Plus, researchers just started seeing, or maybe paying more attention to, these really strong connections between religion and other parts of life, family, health, social movements. The data was just there.
Okay, right. Let's unpack that influence then. The sources point to several key areas where religion really makes its presence felt. Where should we start?
Maybe with politics and social movements, that's a pretty clear one. Religion has, time and again, provided really crucial things: resources, leadership, moral language for all kinds of movements. Think about the civil rights struggle in the U.S., that's a classic example. But also, contemporary campaigns like anti-abortion movements and religious beliefs. They really shape how people view moral issues, pornography, homosexuality, which obviously feeds into political debate.
Makes sense. And what about closer to home, like the family?
Oh, definitely. You see some really clear links there, too. For instance, studies often show that higher religious involvement among adolescents tends to correlate inversely with premarital sex and contraceptive use, and things like strong religious commitment or marrying someone of the same faith, often associated with greater reported marital happiness, less conflict. You even see demographic differences. Like conservative Protestants often marry younger, have more kids, compared to, say, the religiously unaffiliated who tend to have the lowest fertility rates. It also shaped how people think about raising kids. While, yes, some conservative groups might endorse corporal punishment more, other studies find they also tend to yell less and show more affection. And for women, even within traditions that might seem patriarchal on the surface, many find a lot of fulfillment, community, sometimes even leadership roles within their religious groups.
Yeah, that's quite a wide net it casts. How about health? Health and well-being.
Yeah, that's a really booming area of research, actually. And the findings are pretty consistent, sometimes quite striking. Study after study shows positive links between religious involvement and better mental health, better physical health, even lower mortality rates, longer life expectancy.
Really? How does that work?
Well, through a few different pathways. It seems to help regulate risky behaviors, less substance abuse, for example. It provides really strong social support networks. Think about built-in community. Plus, it can boost self-esteem, a sense of personal control, and it offers, frameworks and practices for coping with major life stress, like prayer or finding meaning in hardship.
So it's hitting on the personal level, but also the community level, is that right? This sounds like it ties into ideas like free social space and social capital.
Absolutely spot on. Religious communities have historically been and still are vital free social spaces. Places where people, especially marginalized groups, can organize, share information, build solidarity outside of dominant structures. The African American church is the classic example, but you see it today with immigrant congregations, even LGBTQ plus religious groups finding their footing. And yes, they build social capital, those networks, that trust, that shared understanding that helps people work together. This fuels volunteering, civic action. It can even help deter crime in a neighborhood just through shared norms and sort of informal social control. Oh, and education too. Involvement is often linked to better graduation rates. Though you do see some conservative groups opting for homeschooling or avoiding secular universities because they're wary of secular humanism. So we've kind of looked at how religion is influential. But the next step for sociologists is the why. What are the underlying mechanisms? What theories help explain these patterns we keep seeing?
Right. And that brings us to some newer theoretical angles, especially this rational choice perspective, which sounds a bit odd for religion, maybe. treating faith like a market.
It does sound counterintuitive at first, yeah.
Yeah.
But the idea basically is to view religious choices as involving exchanges, not for money usually, but for what they call general supernatural compensators.
Hmm.
Think of it like promises of future rewards, heaven, enlightenment, or perhaps just satisfying answers to life's big questions, explanations for suffering, that kind of thing. They also talk about religious human capital. Like the more you already know about a specific tradition, the more familiar you are with its rituals, its language, the more valuable it is to you. Which helps explain why people, if they switch religions, often switch to something fairly similar, or preferences, your past religious experiences, shape what you want from religion now.
Okay, I see the logic. But it raises a big question. How much of this is truly an individual, rational calculation versus just being swept along by social forces, your family, your community?
That's a great question. And yes, social influences are hugely important. It's not just individual calculation. People make choices to please people they care about. That's sympathy. Or maybe to set an example for their kids. And there are definitely social rewards and punishments. In really tight-knit religious communities, your actual social standing, your friendships, maybe even your business contacts, can depend on participating. There's also this interesting idea called the church sect cycle. You start with a small, high-tension sect that demands a lot. If it gets successful, it might grow, become more bureaucratic, less demanding, more like a mainstream church. But then some members might feel it's lost its spark, its original intensity, so they might break off and form a new strict sect. It's a cycle.
Huh. So that leads to the idea that being strict can actually be a strength for a religious group.
Paradoxically, yes, often it is. These strict churches, or sects, they demand real sacrifices, time, money, maybe adhering to unpopular social norms. This tends to filter out people who aren't fully committed. So the ones who remain are highly motivated, highly invested. This leads to stronger collective engagement, higher participation, more benefits for the committed members. And finally, just to touch on it, there's this ongoing debate about pluralism. Does having lots of different religious options available in society, like a competitive marketplace, actually make religion stronger overall because groups have to compete for members? The U.S. evidence mostly seems to suggest yes. Or does all that choice actually dilute people's faith? That's still argued about.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what's the main takeaway for you listening?
I think fundamentally it's that religion is absolutely not some dusty relic we're leaving behind. It's incredibly dynamic. It's deeply woven into the fabric of modern life, influencing politics, family, health, community, often in ways we don't even realize. It's constantly adapting and finding new relevance.
Right. So maybe the question to leave you with is this. Knowing how deep and sometimes hidden these influences are, how might understanding this sociology of religion change the way you look at social trends around you, the dynamics in your own community, or maybe even reflect on your own choices and beliefs? Something to think about.